Well, I've got my rod and I've got my bait. All I've got to do is sit here and wait for the big, big fish to come my way, even if it's gonna take all day. Here, fishy, 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 here, fishy, fishy, fishy. Here, fishy, 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 here, fishy, 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 fishing off the pier.
Is it working now? Okay. I must have hit a mute button. Hello! Hey! How's it going? Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're doing good. Hope you had a good weekend. Um, Hope it passed slower for you than it did for me. But yeah, how are y'all doing? We're doing good. Bye, nerd. See ya. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Even if you're streaking. Alrighty. I am just finishing up my dinner real quick here. I took an itty bitty nap just to kind of refresh after work. It didn't help, but that's okay. It's fine. So I'm running a tad late, but not really. But, for today, it's more art study stream. And it's actually going to be, I gotta remember to say this more than once. This is probably going to be the last art study stream for a bit, probably up until after Art Fight, because I simply don't have the time to do art study homework and art studies on top of all the stuff for Art Fight, on top of all the art that I want to do on the side and everything else, and I'm running out of time. And I decided, while I think the art studies are definitely helping me foundationally, it's not helping me in the immediate, and I gotta get some stuff done. So yeah, and I think this is a good place to kind of have a long period of time, so it's plenty of time to complete the next bit of homework, the next chunk of homework, and then come back in a few months and move on to the next part. So yeah, let me switch over here. I'm still eating, but it's fine. Sorry if I'm a bit scatterbrained, by the way. I just woke up. Okay, so I'd like to kind of go over the art study homework that we had for this most recent one, which I think was the biggest amount of homework that we had to do. I think I went from, hey, this isn't so bad, to, oh my gosh, I hate this, to, I have no idea what I'm doing, and then I just kind of stayed at, I don't know what I'm doing. Which kind of sucks, because I want to know what I'm doing for the process, but maybe it's just you slowly get it over time. So the first bit of homework, I'm trying to remember because it's been a while, because we had to pad it out a little bit. But here's the first bit of homework that I did, and if you did it as well and want to share, feel free to put it in the Discord if you'd like. We don't have to look at just mine, because probably a bad example. I feel like this one looks way more complicated, and yeah, I feel like it looks way more complicated than it actually is. But that's fine. So for this one, you used a ruler the whole time, and I honestly didn't think it was that bad because I had the ruler. The hardest part the biggest trouble I had was actually just using my ruler, because my ruler's kind of crap. It's like a cheap, like 50-cent, $1 ruler. So it moves way too easily. It is not easy to draw with. It smudges, as you will probably see on some of these. I mean, if you zoom in enough, you'll see all these like streaks and stuff. That is not from my camera. That is on the page because the ruler just like streaked all of my pen. But that's fine. Also, speaking of pen issues, this, I don't know why the pen gloobs where it gloobs sometimes. You know, sometimes doesn't work at all, sometimes works way too well. I don't know if it's just the pen, I'm not used to it. I've gotten used to working on a tablet at this point, and I barely work with traditional, so that's probably what part of the problem is. But I think that was the hardest part, was just, you know, the mechanics of it and the tools that I was using. But it wasn't too bad. And I was kind of getting an idea of, hey, this is how you draw a box. I was, like, starting to understand, like, the thought process that you'd have behind it. And then all my confidence went down the drain. So this was the second part of the homework, and I hated this. I hated every bit of this. This was not pleasant at all. There was a lot of impatience with it as well, I will admit. Also, it required 2 pages of this nonsense, which is when I said, hey, I need more than 1 week per homework because it's going to take me a long period of time to do each page. So I kind of split it up into a week for each page instead. So yeah, and it sucks because this doesn't look nearly as, like, impressive or as, like, this looks like a lot of work. It's really not. It's really not that hard. This took a long time, was really hard, and just made me suffer the whole time. And I get that the red lines were to kind of show you where you were on and where you were off. And some of them, like, I knew because I, like, didn't draw a straight line properly, or I just wibble wobbled my lines because I'm really not good at drawing with my shoulder. But there were points where I was hitting the vanishing point like I was wanting to. Sometimes better than others. But even then, like, if you look at these front facing ones, like, it's so wibble wobbly here just because I'm not used to drawing with my shoulder. So, like, I was having a lot of trouble with that. And also, the more impatient I am, the faster I go, and then I get sloppy with it. But, I was still kind of understanding the idea of the vanishing points and everything. And then we got to this section of the homework. And I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what I was supposed to be thinking. And you can probably tell because each corner looks completely different from the other corners because I didn't know what I was doing. And here's where I have, like, a little bit of, I'm going to complain a little bit. I can see where draw a box is very helpful, but I think in some places he forgets that he's talking to literal beginners. Like, I don't know any of this stuff. I felt like this part was really clear because he did this with us and I kind of understood what I was doing. So following along one main line and the other main line, that's easy. But he did not do an example of the corners very well. And so when it got to the corners, I was like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing or what I'm supposed to be following. So I was kind of, like, guessing the whole time. I was like, well, how much of a distance should this be? And now, like looking at it now, I'm like, oh, okay, that should have probably been like that or something like that, or even more extreme than that. But there's a lot of confusion and not really knowing what I was supposed to do. I don't know what the purpose of these squares here were. That was never explained. I think I was most frustrated at this one. I wasn't super frustrated at this one because I kind of was just like, whatever, I'm just going to do the best that I can. But I think the biggest source of frustration with this one was just the example and the walkthrough that was provided was not detailed enough for you to understand what you were supposed to do. Like, he should have gone through at least one corner so you could kind of follow along and get an idea. And, like, to be fair, he does start it off going, hey, you're probably not going to do this one right. It's probably going to be complicated and confusing, and that's totally fine. Don't sweat it too much. But I feel like you're setting us up for failure if you don't even, like, explain what's going on, like what you're supposed to be doing in the first place, right? I didn't hate this one. I just felt like I didn't really know what I was doing. And I thought maybe by the time I was doing these two, I feel like these corners turned out a little bit better, but even then I don't know what was right and what was wrong. Which is a little frustrating, because I want to do good. I want to do a good job. I know that he, like, says, oh, you need to have feedback, and you need to have people look at your homework and do the feedback and all that. And I'm not doing it to the extreme. Like, I'm not following too closely to the instructions, because this is just to give me some foundation, but not too much. I'm not doing a whole course. This is a challenge to myself or whatever. But that was my main gripe with this one, was just like instructions unclear. Wasn't sure what I was supposed to be doing. But that's fine. That's fine. And then this was the last homework, which again I had to split into 2 days because it was 2 pages of each of these little sections, and that drove me up a wall. I was like, that is so much work to do. And if you don't understand what you're doing in the first place, it just is not a fun time, but did the best that I could. This, actually, I feel like my first one ended up turning out better than my second one. I did this one yesterday. I was impatient. As you can see, I didn't fill it out nearly as much. But also, once again, his instructions were unclear. So I didn't know how many boxes I was supposed to do. I wasn't sure how I was supposed to know how to set things up. He didn't explain the why trick very clearly either. I got it, obviously, because I used it. But then all of my boxes, especially on the second one, all ended up having very similar orientations. And this is all pretty much the same orientation. And I wasn't following that. Now, to be fair, I feel like the why method did help me understand drawing a box a little bit better, because I was able to kind of do that on my own, not like in this context, but I was just like doodling at work and it's like, oh, I know how to draw a box. You draw the Y, and and then you die. You draw the Y, and then you're following the lines. My dinner's trying to kill me. And they should be parallel, blah, blah, blah. But once again, instructions not super clear. I have no idea what the purpose of this pathway was. Like, he said something along the lines of, like, oh, as it gets closer to the viewer, but that wasn't really emphasized very well. Like, I had no idea what I was doing for these. I'm just hoping I did them right. But yeah, that was my attempts to try to do what we were supposed to do. And like, yeah, I can look at a lot of these and be like, oh, well, these weren't drawn right. I can really tell that that wasn't drawn right. That one specifically, though, I think I broke his rule of 90 degrees or more, because otherwise it looks funky. I tried to do it, but again, I didn't totally understand the why thing very well, so that caused problems. But yeah, overall, I drew a lot of boxes. I gotta say that. Finally, its namesake, on Drawbox, I drew boxes. I drew a lot of boxes. And I feel like I do understand it a little bit better. I will say, the other day I was trying to draw something that had nothing to do with boxes. But it was like a pocket I was trying to draw on like the side. So like a belt. And then like a pocket like coming off of that belt. And as I was designing, I was like, oh, okay, so I know this is gonna go, that's gonna go well, I'm gonna draw really shaky lines here, but that's gonna go parallel, and that's gonna go parallel, and I was kind of following that along. So it did help me. I was seeing myself kind of like following the thought process there of drawing the box. So clearly it is helping. It's doing what I'm wanting it to do, is kind of change my idea of the foundational sort of stuff and structures. Just very frustrating, I will say, which they did say at the beginning. It's frustrating. Homework isn't fun, unfortunately. But yeah, overall, I'm just glad to be done with it. I'm glad to have gotten through it. Try and be more careful while I eat so I don't choke myself on stream. That would really suck. Alrighty. Let me pull up Drawbox here. Okay. So I'm going to go through the next section of Drawbox. Let me make sure that y'all can actually see it. There we go. Okay. So here's Drawbox. And this is what we just finished, was all of this homework. And they recommend that you submit your homework for review once you've done all of the homeworks, and then they review the homework, and that's how you're officially kind of following the pathway. I am not, quote unquote, officially following the pathway. I'm just kind of going about trying to learn more, but I'm not worrying too hard about that sort of thing. So, we have what's next. So, assuming you have you've been reading diligently, starting from lesson 0, and have followed the instructions of completing only the recommended number of pages, then you're probably wondering, what do I do now? Well, the smart thing would be to get your homework reviewed. Let's say you've done that already and want to know what your next step is going to be. So, again, they recommend getting your homework reviewed. I recommend, if you're really wanting to follow this art study more closely and get the biggest bang for your buck, so to speak, even though you're not paying for it, I'd still highly recommend getting your homework reviewed. Again, I'm not doing it because I'm not putting my best effort into it. I'm just moving on. And that's fine. Your next step is to tackle the 250 box challenge. This exercise will take what you were introduced to in the rotated boxes. This is distracting. Hold on. I'm gonna change the music here. Forgot I usually do the lo-fi for this. Okay. Sorry. Your next step is to tackle the 250 box challenge. This exercise will take what you were introduced to in the rotated box and organic perspective boxes exercises, which, for reference, that was this one that I didn't understand, and you can see how wrong I was when I was making it when you compare it. But anyway, and the organic perspective one, which was this last one where I had no idea what was going on. So the last two where I had no idea what was going on. Anyway, take what you were introduced to and work on developing your overall grasp of and comfort with freely rotating forms in 3D space. The notes and video there cover techniques that will help you do this as efficiently and effectively as possible as well. It's a tall order, but most who've gone through it have shown considerable improvement, especially those who've read through the notes and applied the error checking approaches consistently. Alrighty. So 250 box challenge. This page is all about our 250 box challenge. A daunting but conquerable task that will serve as a boot camp to develop your ability to judge and estimate convergencies within a given set of lines or edges, and will also demonstrate to you your own capacity for tackling large, overwhelming tasks by breaking them up into digestible steps and spreading them out across a longer span of time. I think I'm an expert in that. I've spread out lesson 1 in 4 months. This challenge relies heavily on the concepts we study throughout lesson 1, as well as the matters of mindset and balance presented in lesson 0. So if you haven't gone through those, you aren't ready to tackle this challenge. Okay. This overview video will get into the whys and hows of the challenge, why it's such an important part of the course as a whole, why it's structured the way it is, and specifically how it is meant to be approached. This challenge is a big one, so you do not want to rush into the exercise without first ensuring that what you're doing, that you're doing what is asked. I can read. It will not be uncommon for you to come back and revisit this material periodically as you move through the challenge. Human memory is only so effective, and mine is even worse, and so it is inevitably that over the weeks you spend on this, at minimum, you'll forget things and you will need refreshers. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start this video, and that way I can get some food in as well. Make sure that the sound is working here.
Congratulations! If you've made it this far, that means that you've gone through all of Lesson 0, which goes over what this course is about and how it should be used, and Lesson 1, which explores the basics of mark making, ellipses, and perspective, and that you've done so on the website page by page going through the written material and watching the videos as they come up. It also means that you've completed all of your Lesson 1 homework to put the concepts from the lectures into practice and establish some practical understanding, which will be further developed by continuing in your warm-ups, and have received feedback on it through either our free community feedback options or our paid official critique program. Now you're at the part of the course that gave it its name, the 250 Box Challenge. The challenge, which we'll explain the gist of in this video and expand upon in the next few, is very daunting for beginners and understandably so. Those of you who are more familiar with the nature of assignments given in art school will probably find it to be less daunting, but regardless, drawing 250 boxes right out the gate is a lot. It's one of the things we get a lot of criticism for in terms of dumping students in the deep end of the pool, but I assure you, it serves an important purpose. It is also very important that you remember that this course as a whole and all it asks must be balanced out with drawing done for the sake of drawing. That is, our glorious 50% rule. If you've been following it as you should be, you'll have a fair bit of drawing for the hell of it under your belt. When we start out, the 50% rule can be really harrowing and torturous, and we are constantly faced with our limitations, with the unreasonableness of our own expectations. But with time, those fears fade into the back of our minds and give way to the ability to relax a little, to draw without needing to turn out well, to stop thinking in terms of what you can and cannot do, to be like the Joker in The Dark Knight and simply chase cars, unconcerned with what you do if you ever actually caught one. That's going to be important in getting through this challenge, so I hope you've kept to the rule. If you haven't, you may want to take some time to balance those scales before moving forward. So, what is the 250 Box Challenge? Well, it's a lot more than just drawing 250 boxes, but that is what it is at its core. We draw 250 freely and randomly rotated boxes, meaning not aligned to any particular direction, so no infinite vanishing points, all the while estimating the convergences of our edges to the best of our ability. We combine this with checking our work with analytical strategies to identify where our approach can be adjusted and improved. Some might consider this grinding, but by our definition, it is not. Grinding is what occurs when we perform a repetitive task and rely on our own judgment to decide whether or not we are finished. This challenge has a specific finish line, a quantity associated with it, and whether or not we've done it correctly is determined by the third party that gives us our feedback. It is only grinding when we ourselves have the freedom to come back around and say, no, I can do this better. This feeds into a cycle of aimless repetition, driven not by the experience or the understanding of someone who already knows what should be given priority and what may not be really as critical as it can seem to a beginner, but rather how we feel about ourselves and about our work. A beginner's greatest enemy is their own expectations of what they should be able to achieve at any given point, which is entirely divorced from the reality of what is reasonable. After all,
That is
why would a
horrifying.
beginner already be armed with that understanding? Getting back on track, let's take a
I want
moment to
trigger
discuss
warning for that.
why we're subjecting ourselves to a challenge like this. In applying strategies like the Y method from Organic Perspective and the line extensions from Rough Perspective, we will gradually develop our intuitive understanding of 3D space in a variety of areas. That isn't to say that we're going to come out the other side having mastered this skill. It's only 250 boxes after all, and is a drop in the bucket compared to everything else you'll be doing across your studies. But you can think of it as a sort of strategic boot camp that is going to kick you forward by some measure and help set you up for what we face next. The biggest among the areas this exercise works upon, and the core goal of the exercise as a whole, is to develop our ability to judge convergences. That is, given a set of edges that are parallel in 3D space, and therefore converging when drawn on a flat page as lines, we want to be able to intuitively understand how to add more lines to that set such that they all converge consistently. In 3D space, that means adding more edges that are parallel, and in the 2D space of the page, it means adding lines that converge as closely as we can manage to the same vanishing point of those lines that are already present. Other notable impacts the box challenge is designed to have is to demonstrate how every complex task is ultimately a series of simple tasks. The challenge is made up of 250 individual boxes. Each box is made up of 12 edges, and each line we draw has us working through 3 phases of the ghosting method. In working through this challenge, we will show ourselves that the seemingly insurmountable can be overcome. And through that very demonstration, we develop the discipline to see it through, not by rushing, not by altering the nature of the task, but by chipping away at it bit by bit. Everyone works at a different pace. Some people will be able to squeeze in 10 boxes a day and get it done in a little under a month. But some have families, children, responsibilities, a full-time job, and can only do a single box per day. It makes no difference, and it does not matter how long it all takes. What matters is that it can be done one step at a time, and that you have it in you to do the best of your current ability, which is both the most and the least we can ask of you. Continuing on, it's important that you remember that this is an exercise. The focus is not on drawing good boxes. That is a side effect. For example, it is very common for students to get so hung up on whether or not the back corner of their box is positioned correctly that they hyper-focus on it. The back corner is a distraction, a red herring. It does not control the outcome, it is the outcome. If you recall from Lesson 1's plotted perspective exercise, we would frequently end up with back edges that would not run perfectly vertically, but rather slant in one way or another when we drew it by connecting the back 2 corners. This was the result of all the little discrepancies that built up over time. Every slight misalignment or barely incorrect positioning of the ruler when plotting back to the vanishing points, things you might not even be able to see with your naked eye, will cause tiny errors to accumulate, and we'd only really see their result in that back edge. It's the same thing here. Every little misalignment in our estimation of each line's orientation, every mistake in getting them to converge consistently to the vanishing point all those lines of a given set share, the more our back corner's going to come out wonky. In order to direct our attention away from distractions like the back corner and focus entirely on the source of these issues, we leverage line extensions, very much like those introduced in the rough perspective exercise. There we only had one concrete vanishing point to deal with, and so we extended each of those lines back in space to see how our lines were behaving relative to the one vanishing point we'd marked out. This would help us to see where we tended to make mistakes so we could reflect upon what might be causing them, what we should be taking into consideration in our approach, and applying those adjustments in our next set, gradually improving with every attempt. There are a few differences here, but the premise is the same. We now have 3 concrete vanishing points for each box, so we're extending 3 full sets of lines. For the bulk of the challenge, we also won't have explicit vanishing points marked on the page. So instead of gauging how close or far we are from a set point, we'll be looking more at whether our lines tend to converge consistently towards the same arbitrary point, or if they tend to be more scattered. We've talked about what this exercise is for and some things to keep in mind. As to the assignment itself, I'll give you a brief overview here, but we're going to be going into more detail on how the task should be approached in the next couple videos. As a whole, we're drawing 250 boxes, keeping to about 5 or 6 to a page, assuming you're working on standard A4 or 8.5-inch by 11-inch printer paper as recommended in Lesson 0, to ensure that they're drawn at a big enough size. The exercise itself, however, is going to be divided into 3 sections: the first 50, the next 50, and the remaining 150. The first 50 will have us plotting our vanishing points directly on the page and ghosting back to them, similarly to the rough perspective exercise. This is to get us accustomed to the general mechanics of what we're doing in this exercise and ensuring that we start out on the right foot, focusing on the convergence of our lines which can become a little easier to forget about as those vanishing points are pushed farther away. The next 50 will force our vanishing points much farther off the page, which also means we won't be able to plot them out, but rather we'll have to estimate where they are by looking at the other lines we have drawn thus far and examining how they behave. This is more similar to what we were doing in the organic perspective exercise. And finally, the last 150 boxes we draw will be a mixture of those with vanishing points close up to the box itself to give us dramatic foreshortening, as well as those with vanishing points very far away to give us shallower foreshortening. We will not be drawing the vanishing points on the page for any of these, so we're still going to have to estimate our line's orientations based on those that are already present.
But I'm a visual
That's
person,
just a
so
basic overview. You're still absolutely going to need to go through the next video, which gets into more detail about how we will be tackling the first 50 before you start out on your work. As with all of our videos, as well as our written material, it is important that you watch and read them carefully, take notes as needed, and expect to go through them now and again as you continue the challenge. After all, you would not want to find that you completed all 250 boxes only to discover that instructions that were laid out here were ignored or skipped. It happens more than you'd expect.
okie dokie. And that gave me enough time to eat. Fantastic. Alright. But seriously, why? Feel free to read the comic, which you can access by clicking here or directly on the preview image. Sure. Instead of the write-up below, or vice versa. How is this supposed to help me? Candy, don't smoke it. Wait, sugar's bad too. I could tell you it's to get you a ton of well-needed mileage with the basics of mark making, or that the development of your ability to estimate convergencies will serve as a solid foundation upon which to build our spatial reasoning skills. I could tell you that, and it would all be true, but that's not it. It is a task. It is a daunting, but entirely achievable task. It sounds like a lot, and it is, but like most of life's problems, it can be broken down into a bunch of smaller problems and tackled one by one. Divide and conquer. One challenge, 250 boxes, 3,000 lines. That's a lot of lines. One step at a time. Life is full of tasks. Some are small, simple ones, like brushing your hair, taking a shower, or checking the mail. Others are more complex, planning a party, tackling a project for school or at work, or devising the invasion of a sovereign nation to replace their government with a bunch of animatronics I got for cheap when my local Chuck E. Cheese closed down. Anything could happen. Although those of you who have struggled with things like depression know how the simple ones can easily feel overwhelming, each of these tasks, the simple and the complex, can be broken down into smaller tasks. The overwhelming can become achievable in the fullness of time, even if it doesn't seem that way at first. Just like this. If you try the challenge and never quite finish, that means nothing at all. There's no shame there. But if you get through it, if you put in the time to complete it to the best of your ability, there's no task too big, no challenge so great that you can't knock it right on its ass. Anyway, get in. We've got a governing body to overthrow. Alrighty. Over the years, I've heard a lot of people question the reasoning behind the 250 box challenge. And to be completely honest, the true value of the challenge itself, not the exercise, but the act of drawing 250 boxes is as meticulously as we prescribe it, has revealed itself steadily over the time we've been assigning it. I first assigned it in response to a student who was having trouble with the organic perspective boxes from Lesson 1, an exercise that came straight out of the dynamic sketching course I'd taken with Peter Hahn at Concept Design Academy, which itself served as the starting point for what eventually became Drawbox as you know it today. I didn't really know how to explain the logic behind how to draw their boxes more successfully, so instead I decided to try something that didn't rely on explanation at all. I asked them to draw 250 freely rotated boxes. They came back some time later, and lo and behold, it helped. They had markedly improved, and so I started suggesting it to others as an optional challenge. Over time, and in a sort of back and forth with students, we added more elements to it, drawing through the boxes in order to better understand how they sat in space, the Y method to provide a more structured approach that shifted the focus to sets of converging lines, and finally the line extensions themselves drive that focus on convergence home. Hey chicken, how's it going? Oh gosh. Okay. All this certainly helped students better develop their sense of 3D space, at least enough to make considerably better use of the lessons that followed. But that wasn't where the benefits of the challenge shined through most clearly. The true value that eventually became clear was the discipline it developed in our students, and more than that, the knowledge of that discipline as a part of themselves. Not some external thing to chase, but an internal well of willpower upon which they could draw in order to face anything. I know it sounds really lofty, and frankly, like self-help nonsense, but the 250 box challenge is just a big task, and like any task, it can be broken down into smaller pieces, which themselves can be broken down further, until all you're really doing in the moment is one simple, achievable thing. The totality of it may take weeks, or even months, depending on how much time you can throw at it each session, and how often you can sit down and chip away at it, but it's looking at the overall goal that we become overwhelmed. After all, climbing a mountain is a terrifying prospect. It gets a lot easier, however, if all you need to focus on is the very next step, and nothing more. MOK, very eepy. Chicken, you need to eep. Get good eeps. I'm sorry you're eepy, but I'm glad you're doing okay. How was your weekend? In completing this challenge, you will discover that for yourself in a way that goes beyond simple understanding. We can understand something by having it explained to us, but knowing it, truly believing it, demands something more. It requires experience. Climb this mountain, you can climb any mountain. Complete this overwhelming task, and you can complete any overwhelming task. But really believing you can do it isn't the first step. It's the reward you get at the end. 7-stream streak! That's awesome, chicken. Thank you so much. It was okay. Had some interesting talks with a friend. Oh, I see. Hopefully good interesting? I hope it was good interesting. Alright, important concepts. Throughout the 3 main videos associated with this challenge, the overview above, and the first next 50 videos on the next page, we introduce a variety of concepts. The next few sections below will briefly discuss these so you can refer to them easily, though do be sure to review them within the context of their videos now and again. Chicken convergencies with line extensions. If the challenge itself stopped at simply drawing 250 boxes, it wouldn't actually be all that beneficial. There would certainly be value in it, but by adding an additional step where we analyze our boxes by extending each edge back in space, we can actually identify where we need to adjust our approach for the next page on a conscious level. You don't need to use fine liners for these line extensions. You can use ballpoint pen. What matters most here is that the line extensions are drawn in the right direction, ensuring that they move back in space along the edges rather than towards the viewer. Fortunately, as explained in the section below, we can use the initial Y we started with to guarantee that we are extending our lines in the right direction. Think so? Just made me think of a few things. I see. Well, I guess that's good. Not bad. I'm glad it wasn't bad. Yeah. Chicken, I've already kind of looked at the last set of homework that we did, but if you had any homework you wanted to share, I can get you a permit, probably, if I remember how to do that. Or if you just listen along, following along, that's cool as well. But we are going through the next section, which is technically a challenge rather than a lesson, before we go to lesson 2. Alright, the standard way in which we construct our boxes using the Y, which is introduced here in lesson 1's organic perspective exercise method, results in the central point of the Y where all the arms connect, representing the corner that is closest to the viewer. So when extending your lines, place your pen at this central point, and then extend back along the arms of your Y. This means we'll be starting at the corner of the box that is closest to the viewer, and moving back away from the viewer, guaranteeing that the lines are extended in the right direction. Between this and the demonstrations of those lines being extended in the videos, there should be enough information here to execute this correctly by simply following the steps. If you remain confused about how to do this, do be sure to use our community to get confirmation. Extending in the wrong direction would be very detrimental to the benefits of the challenge, so this is not an aspect of the exercise to be approached carelessly. We start with the Y, draw the rest of the box, which is stated so simply. Focus on the Y again. Draw your first line extensions out from the center of the Y. Now I know which direction to extend the others. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. I'm following. I think. I think I'm following. Trying not to draw as much. My iPad pencil tip is completely dull and the iPad itself is super laggy. Oh no. Gotta get a new iPad. Or a different tablet, depending on what you want. I'm sorry about that. Not so much a traditional artist. I'm definitely not. I do not like drawing traditional. I like my undo button. Thank you very much. This was introduced back in Lesson 1's rotated boxes exercise, so you should be familiar with it already. Every box we draw through the box challenge will be drawn as though we have X-ray vision. This means we'll be drawing 12 edges in total, including those that are only visible by seeing through the box. This will help us better understand how the box itself sits not only as a flat, two-dimensional entity on the page, but also as a structure in 3 dimensions. Just keep in mind, being able to see that back corner is going to make you want to focus on it and want to fix it. But as explained in the video, the back corner is just a distraction. It is a symptom of our edges not converging to consistent vanishing points, so addressing it means focusing more on how our lines converge, not on the back corner itself. I'll probably eventually get rid of the iPad and get a dedicated drawing tablet. Nice. Nice-oo. One that you can take around or one that's like connected directly to your computer? Used to, but got very used to digital, unless it's working with charcoal, I suppose. Oh, wow. I've never worked with charcoal. I assume that's very messy. Yeah, I got very used to digital as well as soon as I could afford a tablet. And by that I mean spend every last penny I owned on my tablet. But yeah, I got really used to it. Connected to PC. Nice, nice, nice. Charcoal is super fun. What sort of things do you draw with the charcoal? Is it different from stuff you draw on digitally? And bring them backpacking and do landscapes. Oh wow. That's awesome. Dang. So you must be good at backgrounds then. I'm going to steal your power. I wish I had like I need a pose where my hands are just like reaching out to you. I'm stealing your powers. Trying. I see. That's cool. That's awesome. And backpacking. I forgot you're rich, chicken. No, but that sounds fun, honestly. Sounds like a lot of fun. So more, like landscapes and backgrounds and stuff. I see. Digital, I mostly just do little sketches. Haven't really ever tried to do a serious digital drawing. I'm not rich. Sure, not rich. Well, it'd be fun then, you know? Once you get an official drawing tablet, you'll have to make a serious digital drawing to like break it in. That'd be awesome. And I hope you'll show us. Show me. I'm definitely not going to eat it. Definitely not. Why would I do that? If I was rich, had any money, I'd have a keyboard with a functional escape key. Oh no! There is no escape. You're stuck there. No escape. That is a bad key to not have its function. I can think of several keys I could lose and I'd be okay. Mostly all the F ones, because I don't use them most of the time. Escape is not a good one to lose. I feel like that one's important. Escape and F8 are completely broken, and my A is slowly going out. Oh no. I'm waiting for my Control and Z to go out. Too much undo button. They just break on their own? That's weird. Oh, saved my shift. Oh no. Oh no. You're just gaming too hard. Okie dokie. Foreshortening. We talked about foreshortening a number of times throughout the end of lesson 1, but we will briefly go back over it here. Drawing on a flat piece of paper means that we only have 2 dimensions upon which to represent 3 dimensions of space. Foreshortening is the visual cue we use to tell the viewer just how much of a given distance, like the length of an edge or form, can be measured directly on the page and how much of it exists instead of the unseen dimension of depth. A line that runs perpendicularly to the viewer's angle of sight is completely measurable on the page and does not involve depth at all. A line that runs parallel to the viewer's angle of sight, on the other hand, exists entirely in depth and cannot be measured on the page at all. Anything between those 2 extremes will have a component of each. Dramatic foreshortening is when a given set of parallel edges converges very rapidly, with a vanishing point being very close to where the edges are drawn. At its most extreme, that means the vanishing point will be very close and definitely within the bounds of the page itself. Shallow foreshortening is when a given set of parallel edges converges more gradually, with the vanishing point placed much further from those edges, often way off the page itself. For those of you who are more mathematically minded, not me, you can think of it this way. The vanishing point is always infinitely far away from the viewer. If you look at length of the line on the page and the distance from the end of the line to the vanishing point and compare them, the smaller the distance to the vanishing point gets, and the more of that infinite distance the line itself covers, the longer the edge being represented is in 3D. Okay, I'll try to follow this. Rapid convergence. Dramatic foreshortening. This box is either very long in that dimension or uncomfortably close to the viewer's eyes. Shallow foreshortening. What you see is what you get. The edges are not much longer than the lines that represent them on the page. This box is either relatively small or very far away from the viewer. It doesn't feel very small, though, so I'm a little confused on that one. This one I see. This one I don't see. Length of our line and distance to vanishing point. Is infinity. The smaller the distance, the longer the edge being represented is. Okay. Whatever you say. I may or may not have spilt tea on it, so the motherboard is kind of oh no, not the tea. Oh no. I'm always so nervous I'm gonna drop my water or my Dr. Pepper on something that costs too much money. I am very paranoid about that. Oh my gosh. Just forget the tablet. You need like a whole new computer setup. Hey Zombie, how's it going? We're doing good. We went over the homework for last time. The boxes, I complained about a whole bunch. And now we're looking at the info for the 250 box challenge, which we're almost through, I think. But yeah. My PC is mostly fine. Okay, so new keyboard, new tablet. New monitor? Hmm? How are you doing, Zombie? Back in lesson 1's ellipses section, we talked about how when we draw a cylinder, the degree or width of the farther end is larger than the end closer to the viewer. Sure. You can follow the link for a deeper explanation as to why, but to keep it simple, it's because of how angles work. This degree shift, where the degree of our cross-sectional slice gets wider the further away along the cylinder we go, is one of the ways in which we convey foreshortening to the viewer. The other is the scale shift, where the overall scale of the end closer to the viewer is larger and the end farther is smaller. This may sound contradictory, but it's not. The far end can be both smaller in its overall scale, but wider in one dimension. Furthermore, we see this in all forms, including the boxes we'll be drawing here. I'm not following it all, but hopefully he explains it further later. Okay. Sure. Super tired. Trying to take a nap, emphasis on tried, so that's why I'm here a little late. Oh no, that's fair. I took a nap too. It did not help at all. That's why I'm downing my Dr. Pepper like I'm dying. Because I am. Delicious. The second monitor does have a little boy kisser burn in it, but that's acceptable. Okay. Don't worry about it. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry you're so tired, zombie. I don't know what is going on. I feel like it's just exhausting recently. I think it's just because, I don't know. I think we're all just exhausted. The life we're living. Ugh. Okay. To be honest, I'm a little worried the students will reach the bottom of this page, think, that's it, and go on to drawing 250 boxes. So just to be completely clear, there are further instructions on the specifics of how the exercise is to be done on the next page. This page was simply getting way too long already. Okay. Wait. Did I go through that? Hang on. Yeah, we are on this. Okay, so technically this is quote-unquote the homework of this section, because that's what we've been doing. We read through the lessons, and then there's the homework, quote-unquote, that you do. So he breaks it up into first 50, next 50, and last one 50. I think that would be kind of equivalent to our 3 homeworks, essentially. You know, it has its own little homework section. Wow, it's got... Oh, no. There's the homework section. Okay. So that's the thing. Okay. So yeah, I will leave this for when we are all, or whoever's doing the homework, me and maybe somebody else, is doing the homework. And I guess this will be the link that I put is for the first 50 for that. It makes up for my GPU being able to get monitored up to 120%. Oh, dang. Wow. That's impressive. But yeah, okay. So this is the link that I'm going to put in. And so when we return for the next art study stream, it's going to be based off the assumption that we are finished with this box challenge completely. And that we are then moving on to lesson 2 for next art study stream. So, with that being said, I will say it again. This is the last art study stream for a bit. Probably not until after Art Fight. And maybe a little bit longer because, again, there's all this challenge to do. I might work on it a little bit at a time, like a box a day or something. I don't know. In the meantime, but I think it's something that on its own needs a lot of time to work on, and also with Art Fight starting and with other stuff going on, I need my time for other things. I can't be working on this as well, unfortunately. So we're just gonna put art study streams kind of on hiatus so I can focus on other art that I want to get done or need to get done, or Art Fight or whatever, what have you. So that's just a heads up. You all are more than welcome to get ahead of me. Go at your own pace. Do whatever you like. Get ahead and start ranting about how awful the box challenge is, or just be like, I'm doing a great job and you're being slow, blah, blah, blah. Do whatever you want. But I know that for me, I'm probably going to slow down my pace a whole bunch. And it's probably not going to be till like August or something that we pick this back up. I don't know if I'm going to pick up like something smaller and do like a, hey, I like the way this artist does XYZ. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to do like an art study like that. Not sure if I'll do that in the meantime, but honestly, overall, I think I'm just going to focus on Art Fight and any other art that I need to get worked on. So yeah, that's just my heads up for that one. But I wanted to make sure we, all came back for the homework from this most recent section, since we actually drew boxes on the last homework, and then got to go through the next quote unquote lesson in preparation for the challenge. But yeah, that's that. So, but yeah, I also wanted to thank y'all just for putting up with me, and while I'm like trying to challenge myself with this sort of stuff and learn how to draw. I know it could probably get a little boring, but I really enjoy learning along with y'all. And yeah, kind of seeing how other people approach it as well. Or just, being able to complain about it if it's not working. But yeah. Since we have some time, I think I'm just going to go ahead and start working on some personal work that I had been working on previously, and whatever I have left, I'll probably keep working on Wednesday. There's a lot of stickers or things that I think can be stickers that I would like to get done at some point. I think that's what I'm going to focus on, but next week, officially, I'm going to be pulling out all the stops for Art Fight. So Art Fight references are going to be started next week. I just wanted to give myself a little break after that really long, really big OC challenge that I did previously with the flowers. That was a lot. So I kind of need a break from my OCs just for a little bit. But yeah, I've been trying to make some progress on the stickers. We got the Dream Eaters. I got some other ones as well. Did you end up touching that up? I changed one thing. I looked at it the next day and changed one thing. I can show you. Honestly, I think it turned out pretty good, and I had to stare at it for a long time before I was like, you know what? I think it's good. There's nothing that's like sticking out. The only thing I changed was I wanted this to glow a little bit more, so I added a little bit more light around this area and a little bit more glow on here. I think I still have the other files somewhere. Let me see. Here we go. So, for comparison, that was the only thing I changed. Was a little bit more light. Looks nice, very soft, almost kind of moody. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, oh, it adds a little bit more to it. But nothing else, which I'm happy about, because I stared at it way too much. I think maybe I was just done working with it as well. Just like, I'm done. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was really nice to draw my characters, I think. Also, speaking of my characters, I have been making some pretty good progress, I think, with writing. And actually, I wanted to ask y'all if there was any interest in, I got, yeah, that one's done. If there would be any interest in, like, writing streams. It wouldn't be brainstorming at that point. It would just, other than, like, brainstorming words, but, in, like, a writing stream. Because for the most part, I'm just kind of rewriting what's already written, and revising and just adding adjustments, to things that happen. So, for example, the magical artifact that Avery had originally was a, like, magical glove. It's now a magical dagger. So that needs to be changed a little bit. The setting got altered a little bit, so the details when I bring up the setting need to be changed and things like that. Or, like, there's some plot things that are going to get adjusted, but all this to say, I don't think it's going to be as, like, majorly me not sure what what I should write next for that. So I don't know. Would y'all be interested in like little chill and write or chill and draw, or whatever you're doing, chilling while I write, sort of session? I was always kind of worried about it though, because I was like, I mean, eventually I would like to publish it, right? And I don't know how that like works. But I've also like seen that other people are in fact streaming their writing, and mine I know is still at the very beginning of stuff, so things will change. This is technically draft 2, so I still haven't finished draft 1 of book 2, but I'm reworking on book 1 first before I'm moving on. Be down for that? Awesome. I'll have to think about it. I was thinking it might be like a Saturday stream or something like that, to be honest, because I don't really want to give up time for drawing, especially as we get closer to Art Fight. But I'll have to think about that, probably. And what exactly or when exactly we're going to do it. And I don't want to give up my Friday streams because that's the only time I get to game nowadays. I miss gaming. I will admit there were a couple times this weekend I almost was like, screw it, I'm going to play more in Stars in Time. I'm just going to start a stream and see who shows up. I don't care. I want to play. But that was me putting off work that I actually had to do, so it's probably best I didn't do it. Want to get better at writing. I love reading too much. Yeah, I mean, that's what got me into it, was reading to writing pipeline. Reading to fanfic to writing pipeline. Just don't wear yourself down with all the streaming. I would make it a tentative stream sort of thing. Oh yeah, definitely. I try not to commit too much to these things. But streams are really helpful because in my mind, it's kind of like holding myself accountable and like saying, hey, people, I'm going to go be doing this thing. And then if I don't do it, it's like, I'm not disappointing anyone, but now people know. Now people know that I said I was going to do this and that I didn't. And just the people knowing that could hold me accountable tends to make me actually do the stuff that I want to do, which is good because I do want to do that stuff. Actually, what started me with streaming with games, because I wouldn't play half of the games that I owned. I was like, you know what? Just gonna game together. It's the way it's gotta be. Though I will say, for me, to get more inspired with like writing more, I need to read more because reading automatically makes me like really excited to write my own stuff. What types of books do you like? Mainly like fantasy, I'd say, probably. Mainly fantasy. It's a little crooked. It's not crooked. I guess it's fine. No, it's definitely crooked. Hang on. I'm gonna fix this. We're gonna have a symmetry tool through that. That'll make it better. Ever read the Last Dragon Chronicles or Fablehaven? I feel like I own Fablehaven, but it's like on the shelf on the list. Unfortunately. But I don't think I've heard of the Last Dragon Chronicles. I have not read those. Fablehaven is great. I have the entire series signed. Ooh, nice. That's awesome. Last Dragon Chronicles is for sure a lesser known series, but it's by far my favorite fantasy series, book series as a whole. First book will get you hooked. Ooh. I say Dragon is a good way to go. Usually makes it a good book. Though more recently, maybe not. I feel like a lot of people were like, oh, let me hop on the Dragon bandwagon here. And then don't do it well. Which is a shame. Okay, let me get rid of this reader. Yo, what if reading stream? It might work better with digital books, but it totally show up. No, it totally show up to hear you narrate an audiobook. Oh, I don't know if I can do all that. That's a lot of reading. That's a lot of reading. I don't think I own any digital books either, because I really like holding the pages. I I like my bookshelves filled with books. That would be pretty cool though. But I think you'd probably run into like copyright issues, wouldn't you? For the same reason that I can't like, or I shouldn't just show like anime or movies on stream, right? I feel like I'd run into an issue unless I read you like Winnie the Pooh or something. Something that's like Great Expectation. First book was released in like 2007. Don't worry, the author has been doing it for a while. I see. That's a relief. First book is like $7. Otherwise, you can get all 7 for 47. Hey, that's a deal. 7 for 47. Nice. That's fair, just an admittedly bad idea. I don't think it was necessarily a bad idea, just unfortunately, because of copyright, an unfeasible idea. Unless I were to do it like Discord or something. Discord exclusive book nights. That's true. Yes, they're followed into the same copyright restrictions. Yeah. Unfortunately. I mean, fortunately, but unfortunately. The only book I could read is my own, I guess. Or if I had an author buddy. Okay, I think we fixed the crown there. Oh gosh. Highly recommend all of them. A very unique take on Dragon Fantasy. I would love to take up your recommendation, Chicken. I would. But unfortunately, I am not exaggerating when I say bookshelves, plural, full of books I have not read. I'm working on it. To be fair, I've read... How many books? I've been keeping a list to like track how much I'm reading this year. I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. I've read 8 books since January. But I'm currently working on the Percy Jackson series for the very first time. And it's unfortunately taking me longer than I thought it would, because I thought there were only 3 series and that was it. And there's more than that, so unfortunately I'm working on that one. And then, I got a whole bunch of books. But definitely, I will try to keep in mind if I see it when I do one of my thrift store half-off books, shopping adventures where I buy books when I shouldn't. I will definitely keep those in mind. In the first book, there's also a little mini story, since the character in the book is an author as well. Oh, that's interesting. I do appreciate book recommendations. I am paying attention to them. I just can't promise they will be read within the century, to be honest, at this point. I'm doing the best I can, but unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to read, which is most regrettable, because I love reading. I only ever saw them in public at my elementary school library before they tore it apart and rebuilt it. So all paperbacks were 10 cents. Oh, wow. That's a good deal. 10-cent paperbacks. Nice. I have a really bad habit of putting my... Hang on. Thought I hit the... Sorry. There we go. I thought I hit the button. I did not. Whoops. It's kind of shocking considering that book would have only been a few years old at the time. It's always nice when you can get a good deal for these things. I owned 2 copies of the first and second, and later decided, ooh, I want box and the rest of them. So decided why not. Ooh, got the whole box set. It's kind of what I did with Story Thieves. I was like, this book was good. Let me just get all of the rest of them. Plus, box. Bonus, box. That was wrong. Pip pop pop. Thank you for the headpad zombie. Also, those alerts are so stinking loud. No, I will not change them. Damn it, I want to read now. Isn't that the problem? I want to read. I want to read. I want to draw. I want to write. I gotta go to work tomorrow. This is ridiculous. I should have. There we are. There's no need to draw that more than once. It's already annoying. They are loud. I jump every single time. I keep them loud because sometimes I do get so into the zone I kind of need the jerk out of the zone. Like, hey, are you paying attention? See how this looks without this. It's so sharp, it's 1 pixel. Need for foods. I lurk. Enjoy your lurk, chicken. Get some good foods. Dang it, I did it twice. Okay. Some good noms. Num 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 num. Okay. To adjust it slightly then. Have I talked to you about Tomodachi Life since it released? I can't remember. I don't think so. I cannot remember, to be honest. I have seen quite a few people playing it. I've been having fun so far. Other people are way better than me with the Mii Creator, but it's still fun. It definitely seems like something that's completely dependent on how good you are at making the little guys. But honestly, man, if it's fun, it's fun. That's the important part. What sort of Miis have you made?
Well, I've got my rod and I've got my bait. All I've got to do is sit here and wait for the big, big fish to come my way, even if it's gonna take all day. Here, fishy, 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 here, fishy, fishy, fishy. Here, fishy, 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 here, fishy, 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 fishing off the pier.
Guess who's back? Back again? It's Nerd. Welcome back, Nerd. Mostly my OCs, both dragons and our Pokemon D&D campaign. As you can imagine, the creator works best when your character's face is complex, so a lot of my dragons end up coming out not so great. That's fine. I mean, you're trying to stick a dragon face on a Mii. It's gonna come out a little wonky sometimes. That's okay. I've seen a lot of different sorts of things being drawn, to be honest. I think maybe it would help if I can't see this. Maybe. Maybe it'll help. I remember this being hard because it was a weird angle to go with. Going to be arting as well. Ooh. Your project?
Rudy, you gotta draw something!
I am drawing something!
Now. You gotta draw something right now! Rudy, this time you really gotta draw something! Rudy, you gotta draw something!
I am! I am drawing something. And you gotta draw something. Everyone's gotta draw something. You are now legally required to draw something. It's the law. Sorry, I don't make the rules. I guess that's good enough, to be honest. Do I care that much? No. Alright, let's get rid of the symmetry tool here. Need this back. Yeah, the project. I am mayor. I am law. But we can't, Isabel! Hold on, I need this to go away again. Okay. What? What have I highlighted here? Anyway. That was weird. Okay, then we just need his shield, which is honestly the hardest part of the frog, is how many circular shapes I have to draw. Well. Save! Oh, thank you. It has been a while, hasn't it? That was unfortunate. You know what? I don't have to do this. I have the technology. I'm committing crimes of a direction and magnitude nefarious vector. Forg. The all-important Forg. Ah! Hi! Get him off the circle! What the heck? What is happening? This is too many wrens. This is a disgusting amount of wrens. Can never have too many Wrens? You can. That is too many Wrens. Quite simply. Too many Wrens. I'm going to work smarter, not harder. Very unfortunate place to have a problem, because it was working really well. You know what? Why don't I just make it a new layer and then put it there when I'm done? That I can erase with ease when I inevitably miss. It's the perfect plan. Perfect. I don't know. I think the original one was better. Ah! Check the layer! Correct layer. Thank you, nerd. And a posture check. Thank you, zombie. I will unshrimp for now. And a hydrate. Go get some water. I'm out of water. And that was the last of my Dr. Pepper. Tragedy. And a save. Thank you, zombie. All these tasks to complete. There we go. Got Lord Kairu. We got Sir Kairu. We got Lord Kairu. Then we have Chef Kairu. That we still need to do. As well as Miko Kairu. Mikairu? Mikairu? Maybe. I don't know. The goat. This is correct. The goat. Oh, oops. Good thing that wasn't a lot of things I drew on that layer. That would have been most unfortunate. Okay. I think I'm gonna stop there for tonight because it's a little bit, because it's bedtime. It's time to go to bed. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, before I go, I did want to show y'all something else I'm working on that'll probably be stickers as well. So, I mentioned a couple times I'm reading Percy Jackson for the very first time. I'm going through the series. I'm currently on the 3rd series. I don't want to do any spoilers because I know it's been out for forever, but even, like, I've never read it before, so, I don't want to spoil anything. But there is, like, completely out of context, there's a guinea pig, okay? There's something involving a guinea pig. Anyway, that inspired me to draw the characters in the book as guinea pigs. So we've got a Percy Jackson guinea pig. We've got an Annabeth guinea pig, which I know she doesn't have enough beads. This is just a raw sketch just to see if it'll work out. We've got a Leo guinea pig. And we've got a art nerd requested Nico guinea pig. I do plan to do like all of the main characters. Is my plan. I did Percy just because he's the main character. But Annabeth and Leo are my 2 favorite characters. So I wanted to definitely get them as well. And then again, that was requested. But I probably would have done Nico anyway. Obviously needs some tweaking and whatever, but it was good to like sketch it out and see if it was gonna work out. Anyway, and I think it would just be a fun little sticker to do. So yeah, that is another sticker that I'll be working on in the future, probably once the Dream Drop stickers are figured out. They're cute. I really like their eyes. That is exactly the face they are making. Oh, thank you. I was trying to go for like the kind of Disney look. Because for all of my drawing furries, I don't really draw like regular animals very often. But also those aren't regular animals. Those are characters as guinea pigs. So I figured Disney was the best option for that. But yeah, that's it's kind of what I've been playing around with in the meantime. Check the layer! Misiello! Let me see, what layer am I on? I'm on the Heartless, or not the Heartless, the Dream Eater layer. But thank you. Thank you for the check the layer. But yeah, so lots of stickers gonna be working on, so hopefully we'll finish the line art for the Dream Drop Distance ones on Wednesday. And then color it, shade it a little bit. Those should be good. They shouldn't be too detailed just because they're gonna be little stickers. But yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty good. And then again, next week I'll be pushing more towards references for Art Fight, so that's exciting. Thank you again, Micio. Alrighty, I'm gonna switch over. If I remember where I'm going here, I'm gonna switch over here and let's find somebody. Let's do an art. Who's doing art? Who can I raid? Lots of people streaming, but not as many people doing art. Let me see. Art Fight, go. It's approaching. With incredible speed, it is approaching. Okay. Shuji's still going, so I'll send you over to Shuji. I'll probably wrap up soon as well. But I'll go ahead and send you over there. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your night. Thank you all so much for hanging out with the art study and then working on little stickers and such as well. Again, as always, a blast to yap with y'all and just hang out. And I always enjoy it. And I have no idea why that font comes up so stinking big. One day I'll mess with that, but not right now. See you, Micio. It's nice hanging out. See you next stream. See you next stream, Zombie. Thank you again. I really appreciate it. I'll be back on Wednesday. We'll be working more on these little stickers. So look forward to that. And then get ready for Art Fight Crunch come May next week. But yeah. I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye! Scribbles Raid!